Hello, hello! This video is half a guide and half a PSA to rant about how amazing Lightmatica is. I believe in Lightmatica so much that I will exclusively upload Lightmatic files rather than world downloads. And I think you should too. This is for a couple of reasons. Lightmatic files are a lot lighter than world files, where a world file can easily be a megabyte or more for just a few chunks. The worst Lightmatic files I've seen are like 100 kilobytes. To put it into perspective, I have 200 Lightmatics, and the schematic folder that I have isn't even 5 megs. But for 33 worlds, that's 10 gigs. As well as that, I can drop in Lightmatic files into my Redstone world without having to exit out of the game or exit out of my world. So if I see something neat while I'm browsing and I have my Redstone world open, I can check it out in just a few seconds. There's an infinite pile of reasons to use Lightmatica. Removing the need for build tutorials, making positioning in your world much easier, and so on and so on. I could go on all day about it. I love this mod. But I'm not gonna go on, because we got a tutorial to do. By default, when you install Lightmatica, the button to pull up Lightmatic's main menu will be M. From this menu, you can do just about everything you'd want to involving creating, loading, and positioning Lightmatics. However, interacting with a 3D game space using a 2D menu that locks movement can be janky, so a lot of these actions can be done quicker using the Lightmatic tool. By default, the Lightmatic tool is set to the stick. However, I have mine changed to the arrow as I find myself carrying them more often. If you want to change this, you can find it underneath the generic tab of the config menu. So, let's say you've finished up your perfect work in your redstone world, and you want to move it over into survival. We can start this process by making an area selection in Lightmatica. Depending on what area selection mode you have set, it changes. There's normal and simple. We'll go over normal. Start off by going to the area selection browser, make a new selection, and give it a name. This will generate this sort of floating area zone that you can use to highlight the area that your Lightmatic's in. You can use left and right mouse button to move these corners around. As well, you can use Alt, your scroll wheel, and your looking direction to also move these corners. If that seems to be acting up, make sure that you specifically have the corners mode selected instead of having expand mode selected. This can be changed by holding left control and M. So now that you've selected your work, we want to go and save it as a Lightmatic. You can reach the Lightmatic menu by pressing M and S to bring us right to the area selection. And under Configure, we can save the Lightmatic in one of two ways. Holding Shift lets you create an in-memory schematic. This is useful for when you just want to make a schematic for working on smaller bits of a whole or something that you don't need to move between worlds. Or, if you just click, you can make it as a Lightmatic that you can save between worlds, which is useful for moving things from redstone worlds to your survival world. Loading a Lightmatic up is an even easier process that can be done in just 3 clicks. In order to position this Lightmatic in your world, you can hold Control and use the scroll wheel to change around your Lightmatic tool's mode. And from there, moving around your Lightmatic can be done with both left and right mouse, and with holding Alt and using the scroll wheel with look direction. If you have creative privileges, you can use the paste schematic in the world function in order to put the schematic that you have loaded directly into the world without having to build it. This can be done with the, I believe it is the execute operation hotkey, which is by default not set. Another key worth keeping in mind is the easy place config key. Easy place is considered somewhat cheaty, as it allows you to set up things without having much work. However, do I consider it wrong? I don't really care. This keybind isn't set by default and can be found underneath hotkeys. One final keybind worth keeping in mind is M and L. This brings up a material list that compares what you have already in your inventory to what is missing from the placed Lightmatic. There's a couple more advanced features to Lightmatica that I could go into, but for the most part, these are the few things that you should need in order to get set up with the mod. Anyhow, thank you, like and sub if you want, have a good one, and don't post world downloads.